Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy Thursday to all of you out there. Happy Thursday. This is the best day of the week for a multitude of reasons. Number one, because it's my favorite day of the week. Number two, because hello, it's show day. Happy
Yes.
show day to all of our daters out there that are tuning in through Facebook Live, through our YouTube, and then to our online podcast listeners. Welcome to Dating University. I am one half of the dynamic co host, Professor Brittany. Professor Charles is off for the evening as we have girl time tonight for our show,
Yes, we do.
our lady show. So excited, so excited. Um, Again, good evening. We are Dating University. We're here. We discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of all things dating and relationships. It's so weird doing that intro by myself, but I made it through. Let me
You
pat
did
myself on.
great.
Let me
You
pat
did
myself
great.
on the back. Charles, Professor Charles, how did I do? Let me pat myself on the back.
I think you
Without,
did fabulous.
thank you, Winnie. Without further ado, because we know why we're here. We are here to discuss dating from a Black woman's perspective.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we are here to discuss dating from a Black woman's perspective. So, if you've been tuning in for the past few weeks, we had a series entitled Dating While Black. And
Yes.
throughout the past couple of weeks, we gave each gender a chance to vocalize their experiences in the dating world. So, the first week, we had the ladies, the second week, we had the fellas. The third week they came together and that was explosive. So it was such a good time. We said, you know what? Let's run it back and do it again because of all of the positive feedback. So last week we had the fellas, and okay, the fellas had a lot to say about their experiences. Woo! So we're going to end the series with none other than the beautiful Black women as we discuss dating from our perspectives. So, enough about me. You know about me, Professor Brittany. We are now going to open the floor to our two beautiful Black women. So, the way I want you to introduce yourselves is
Mhm.
give us your name, give us one word to describe dating from a Black woman's perspective, and then say why. We'll start with you, Winnie.
Okay, so it's name one word to describe dating, and there was a
Yes.
third thing, I
And
think,
why?
and why. Mm. Oh, first of all, Miss Winnie O. For those of you who don't know me, um, all my handles are just Miss Winnie O. So, one word, I would say adventurous. And why? Uh,
Mm.
yes, adventurous. Why? Because in my little experience, that has been the experience. Good, bad, and different. It's literally been an adventure.
Adventures.
Yeah,
Okay. That's never heard that. And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
My name
Next.
my name is Megan. I guess I would say one word to describe it. Oof. Initially I thought oppressive and I was like, no, that's an impulsive thought. I wouldn't say oppressive, but I would say
No.
it is I would say roller coaster.
Yeah, ooh, yes,
Mm.
yes,
Roller coaster.
yes.
Why? What about the roller coaster?
Because like there are good times, there are peaks, it's great. It's great, but then
Yeah.
you hit that valley and you're like, how did we get here? Because we just
Sure.
came here. And you don't know you're getting to the valley either, because when you're going down, it seems fun. And 10
Yes,
minutes go by and you're
Mm.
like, oh, it's not good anymore. Now
yes.
we're here. How?
And you know,
I
I'm very intrigued by the word oppressive. I'm very intrigued. Please,
That's like a
please give
specific
insight.
situation that has stuck with me for years. And the date just never happened because their idea of the first date was that I was going to come to them and cook for them their favorite meal. And I was just like, it's never,
uh-uh.
it was just really bad.
Hey.
And it just, like I said, it never happened because that
How
approach
long
is
did
just
you know
not
this
for me.
person that they were so
No,
comfortable
not
to expect
well.
it?
This, yeah, no, not well at all. This was somebody I met like in university and on campus, and I was like, this is not it. That's not it. Like
No.
you could have worked your way to that. I like
Sure.
perhaps, but off rip, and it wasn't like, what do you want to do? It's like this will be the first date. And I
Oh,
said,
that
I
was
should
the
want like
first
your
date.
house. Yeah, they're like, you'll come to my house. You'll cook my favorite meal, and I was like, no.
He said, "You'll cook
Okay.
my favorite meal."
It was
Wow.
steak. I remember. See, it stuck out because it was that. It was steak, and I was like, "Sir."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had a guy ask me to clean his bathroom within
Ah,
like the first 3 dates.
Clean the
So
bathroom.
oppressive is not a bad word. That is not a derogatory term at all to describe dating as a black woman.
oh my
It's
God.
like the audacity to even task us to do
Mm.
housework.
Yeah, yes.
That the
Oh,
bathroom is
oh.
crazy. Can you
Yeah,
please clean my bathroom?
and okay, and you know me, Brittany, like as a child of the motherland, I will say to a degree there are some backwards or very archaic
Sure.
expectations of women that guys don't get the same, and I've seen it happen several times, definitely more than once, where they
Sure.
expect you to kind of do these performances in the name of
Mhm.
you will be a great homemaker,
Sure. Yeah.
housewife, or wife, partner.
Mhm.
So whether it is, as you guys have mentioned, the cleaning of the bathroom or cooking or washing dishes or being the one cleaning up after everything and everyone, um, in the name of, oh, these are great indications that you will build a stable home.
Right.
But it's not expected on the flip side that the guy will do that when they come to your home, when he comes to see your people. It
Right.
just,
True.
yeah.
Right. So, quick question before we dive into the heart of the show. So, I read a meme somewhere online that the premise was, he was upset because a woman expected him to take out the trash when he walked in and saw it. So, how do you guys feel about that? Do you think that if you're entertaining a guy at your place and he walks by a trash can that's full of trash and it needs to go out, do you expect him to take it out? Or if he walks by and ignores it, are you okay with that?
Go ahead, Winnie.
There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. I'm just curious.
I think that I believe there's a difference between like an outright expectation, like one has to do this, whereas if you happen to be passing by and it's already like put together and you were going to take it out to the trash can up there, up the driveway, you could be like, hey, do you mind, on your way to your car,
Hmm.
do you mind, pulling this over there? I was going to do it, but, typically in my experience, they're usually more than willing,
Mhm.
but it doesn't really say much. If anything, it doesn't, it's not a demerit, but I would say it's a bonus. So it's like it says something about your character that
Sure.
where it's like, I really appreciate the simple things. Am I gonna look at you like it's the end of the world? No, it's not your responsibility. Just look, tis what it is.
I would
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I walk past my own garbage. So if you walk past it, I'll be like, it's okay. But like the most times, if it happened, they're like, give that to me. I'll take it out. It's
Yeah,
full. You're
Yeah.
not gonna.
yeah,
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
thanks so much. Like bonus points. Like
yeah,
not no points taken away if you
yeah.
don't do it, but if you do
Right,
it, bonus points.
Yeah.
exactly.
Like, I don't think I've ever had that experience where a man saw my trash and didn't offer.
Yeah, at
But
the
as
very least.
far as like it being an expectation, I think that's a form of entitlement. I don't
Yeah,
expect a lot from people, especially if I don't really know them. And if we're initially starting to date, I'm starting at the bare minimum. Like, are you just are you a decent human being? Are you
thank.
courteous?
Yes,
Like,
yes,
I'm worried about so many other things than if you're taking out the trash that I have accumulated. So
yeah.
that's where I stand with that.
Yeah, because I look at it's in similar fashion where with a whole expectation, like, oh, I expect you to cook, I expect you to clean, I
Yes.
expect you to pick up after me. I was like, no, like if I happen to wash the dishes while I'm there or do some things while I'm there, all right, cool.
Yes.
But an expectation that I have to do it, that's a whole different ball game.
For sure. For sure.
Agreed.
For sure. All right, next question for the ladies. So, please tell me the last time you went on a good date and give us some details, and then give us the last time you went on a bad date and give us details. I'm trying to
What?
see something.
Hold on. Did I miss that question?
No, I just added it. You know, we have off topic conversation.
Sis, it's been a whole panorama, right? It's like, and my memory doesn't seem to be that good.
I mean, the last good date was probably with like my current partner, but that I mean, it was good because like, we hadn't seen each other in a long time. But when we like were living in the same place, probably even then it was still good. Like we were driving home from his place. He's like, "Do you want to eat?" I'm hungry, and I was like, "Yeah, of course I'm gonna eat. Let's stop somewhere." We just stopped somewhere. It might have been like 11 o'clock at night. We popped in a restaurant, got a booth off to the side, chatted, got some good food, talked, had some drinks, and then went back to my house. But it was just like randomly on the way home, they were coming to stay
Nice.
over, and he's like, "Let's just stop and get something to eat." And I was like, "Okay, like I can
Nice.
always eat." But yeah, it was just very subtle, very like, and it was like a good time. We were there for like 2 hours just talking, eating, so that was nice.
And I love that. It's the simple things. And like you said, I love the word subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wish that men didn't assume that dates have to be these grandiose gestures that
Yes.
require a lot of
Yeah,
money and maintenance.
yeah,
It for us, it's really about the little things. So, fellas, if you're
thank
watching,
you.
when it comes to the first date, you don't have to, come out rolling out the red carpet and taking out of your 401k and your savings to entertain us. Like
Yeah,
sincerely, like if you legitimately talk to a woman and actively listen, if
Yeah.
you
yeah.
really listen
Mm,
to the things that she likes and the things that she doesn't like, you can craft up a pretty decent date that will
yeah,
be very impressionable, and it will be something that will be a lasting memory. Like a lot of those high-end dates that I had with these men, I don't remember a lot of them, but the
hmm,
ones that were, things that I like to do that didn't require a lot of, money and effort, those are the ones that I remember the most.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Me
So,
too.
free game for y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Free game. So tell
Hmm.
me about a bad date. Like I'm just trying to let the greater audience see that with Black women, when we say we have bad dates, we have bad dates.
Yes.
No, it's
Like this
very
is
bad.
not
It's
something that
deep
we are
down.
exaggerating with. Our
No, it's
dates
not.
be trash.
Hold up. Do I get to give a good date too? Because I
Yes,
finally
of
found one. I
course.
finally remembered
Yes,
one. Well, actually, it's
yes.
like if there to me, it's like all jumbled up. Because quick caveat, I have just been like really out of it during Rona. But before that, I used to travel a lot, and
Sure.
my best dates have almost always been international.
I mean, it makes sense
Really?
to me. It makes sense.
Like,
Yes.
like,
International.
Mhm.
listen, I am all about
You
international dating.
tell.
Yes. So, yeah, looking back, because I was trying to find like what's like a great local date, and I couldn't really think of one. So it would be
Wow.
I was traveling. I usually clump a bunch of countries together whenever I travel,
Yes.
and it was just this one season of traveling where literally, as you said, it was the simple stuff where I happen to connect with somebody and they're like, "Hey, I would like to see you," and it's always like, "Oh, you literally have 3 days to impress me and like get my number." So, like it's like you said, it's simple stuff where they're like, "Oh, I'll show you around like the path less traveled." So, like this one time when where was I? Milan, I believe. Yes. And dude, like literally we had just met, and typically you would think, "Oh, you got to do all these things, for somebody to feel like they need to impress you." I'm like, no, he was just like, "Listen, I like your company," and I was like, "FYI,
Mm,
I don't play these reindeer games." And he understood. Like
mm.
I'm always very quick with it. I'm like, "Listen, I am this what I'm at. Like, let's be honest. We've grown, but I'm gonna be real candid. I don't play these games." And he was like, "All right, cool." But I remember like he took me around all over the city. Like it was like it was better than like those
Beautiful. I love that.
travel things. It's literally like for me, it's like I love going off the beaten path, and then we had like a great dinner afterwards. It was great. It was nothing super fancy because it was like literally just like as we go. And then at the end of the night, I didn't even know this. Apparently, they were showing movies on top of the dome on the Duomo, and
Wow.
he asked I was like, oh, it's okay, we don't have to. He was like, no, he's like it's your only time here in Milan. I don't know if I'm gonna see you again, so we're gonna go all out. So he like asked around and got the special connection, and we were actually like walking on top of the Duomo, and I was like, damn,
My
like,
heart, my heart rejoices. So that leads me into a
Yes.
question that is coming off the top of the head. So
yes,
when it comes to dating as a Black woman,
yeah.
do you think that we have this unfair expectation to only date Black men?
No, say that again. Do we have an unfair
As Black
expectation
women, do we have the unfair expectation? And I put unfair intentionally. Do we
of
have the
self,
unfair expectation to only date Black men?
or is it expectation by society? Because those are two different
By
things.
society. By society.
I believe.
I
Ooh,
would
can we be really honest? I will say
Be
that is
honest.
a question I have asked some of the folks that I have entertained in the past, who happen to be brothers. Love me some brothers.
Sure.
um,
Sure.
and I know one he was like, oh, he's like, I feel some type of way. I was like, but you do the same thing. And he was like, it's
Mm,
different.
looky
Yeah,
here.
yeah. He was like, it's different. It's different though, Whitney. And I mean, but towards, I would say, unfair expectation and self, I would say I used to be that person who, I was like, I know this is what I like. And then, just as I grew older, I was like, you know what? I go where the vibe is right. So ain't gotta be white or black or
I
brown.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, when I look at the reactions of Black women that date outside of their race, that marry outside of their race, they are crucified.
Mm.
Crucified. How dare you, when you have all of these Black kings out here, would you go and betray us and get with someone that's not one of them? But like you
uh,
said, when I look at pictures where it's the opposite, it's pray, all praises be. Oh, she's a trophy. Good look,
okay.
my man. It's a very unfair expectation of Black
Mhm.
women.
Agreed.
Extremely unfair.
And let's be honest, like it's not like we're going around saying, oh, this is my preference. I'm like, nah, my preference is attractive, loving, caring, smart, entrepreneurial type of whoever. So if you happen to fit that bill and it works and we vibe, I'm like, I'm not gonna knock your games.
And that's the thing. Fellas, if you're watching this, if you see a Black woman with a non-Black man, it's not because we don't like you all.
Oh,
You
I love me
okay?
some brothers. You're gonna
If
ask me
they
twice.
happen to fit the description of loving, kind, nurturing, compassionate, and everything that us Black women would in that individual, we're gonna date that individual as well.
Absolutely.
Love is
And
love
I will
across the board.
absolutely, yeah. And I'll be honest, like especially with my sister girls who I know who happen to be married, outside of the brethren, um, I've known them to like it's always based on character first.
Sure,
Always based on character. Like, who
sure,
is this person? How do I feel when I'm with them? How do they make me feel? And how does this relationship work?
sure.
Because
Yeah.
that, listen, life is tough enough, and if you happen to find, if love happens to find you in due season, run with it. Run with it.
Yeah,
Agreed. Yes.
yeah. Some words that we compiled in terms of dating from a Black woman's experience. We're gonna go down the list, and then you tell me yes or no, and then we'll discuss these words one by one. So, a word that we got was traumatic.
Oh yes,
Do you think dating as a Black woman can be traumatic, and why?
very, very yes.
Yeah. Some
Like
people just aren't safe and you don't know that
yes.
until you're in it, and it's some and like it's hard because you will blame yourself. Sometimes you're like, how could I not know or not see? And some people are very good with deception and manipulation, and that's you can't hold yourself hostage for that. And like that's one of my favorite phrases, like do not hold yourselves hostage And like I've
Mm,
done it, I'm sure. Maybe hopefully y'all have never done it. I have done it, and I have no shame in that. But people really do a good job of showing you who they want to show you.
Oh
And
yeah.
sometimes you do
hello.
not know until like
Hello.
you're in it and you're like, I don't want to be here. I shouldn't be here. I don't know
Mm.
if I can get out. I like who I can get. I mean, you try to set up safeguards, but you're just like, I don't know if this is gonna work or like something is going to go down, regardless of like if I do get out, it's not gonna be easily or like I'm not gonna be able to get away
Oh.
like fast or have you. So traumatic, a check mark, yes, for me.
Yeah.
Mm. Yes. Yeah. I feel like those traumatic experiences for me, like my brain does a really good job of putting it in the forget me pile. And
Really.
no,
Yeah.
seriously, because it was that bad where like when you really gotta go through like a whole cleanse, like and like reset your whole system, like that. Yes. I would say there is absolutely sadly great potential for trauma when it comes to sisters, especially dealing with brothers who are not ready to really be in season of dating you, especially when you are in a place of security, and they're like, because that's the thing that initially attracts them. They're like, oh my gosh, she got her stuff together, she's
Mhm.
amazing, right? And
Yes.
then when you mix that oil and water and then you're
Yeah.
trying to make it work,
Mhm.
you gotta choose. And
Yeah.
I learned the hard way. Listen, if I gotta choose between you and my sanity, I will choose me all
Yeah.
day, every day.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
Winnie, you make a good point. There are some experiences that have been so traumatic that unless something triggers a memory, it's
Yeah.
in my forgotten pile. And I think for me, it's a defense mechanism
Yeah.
because the older that I got, right? When people ask, like, hey, like, are you seeing someone? Are you dating? And I would say no. Their next question is, well, what are you waiting for? How old are you again?
I
So with women, kind of like with fertility comes our dating life and our
Yes.
sex life when it
Yeah.
comes to romance. And they're like, well, you're over 30 and you aren't married, you aren't dating anyone, and that puts pressure on me to really like put those traumatic experiences behind me and not effectively deal with them out of fear
Mhm.
that maybe I'll miss the relationship train. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll miss this love go round. So let me just forget about it and then I'll just deal with it later. Because as women, we have to be strong and have to get over stuff. So for
Right.
me, it was like I had to figure it out. And it's like, figure it out, ask questions later, do the work later, do what I have
Yeah.
to do. But I just felt this pressure to move on, or
Mm-hmm.
else I would get left behind. And that's not a good feeling as
Mm-hmm.
Black women. And I don't know if people realize they do it or not. But some of their questions, though they may seem innocent at heart,
Yes.
you're poking a place that for us is very vulnerable. I know
Yes.
how old I am. I have a birth certificate.
Thank
I
you.
know
But
that
that's
I'm
why I
a
feel like
rebel.
I don't think it's that innocent. I don't give people that
Mm.
pass because I really don't. Especially when it
Okay.
comes from like women, men. Sometimes it's like I don't think y'all know what's really going on. But
Yeah. Oh,
like
yes.
women, like you're like the aunties,
Yes.
grandmothers, what have you, like they're and I'm just like, but like one, I'm not gonna deal with what you dealt with because that a lot of it comes from those type of people and those types of situations. I'm not staying through like ride or die and continually dying for
Right.
this marriage and children. It's
Why
gonna
would
be a
I
no for
die?
me. And like usually I'm just like, okay, but like, do you want me to settle and have children with somebody who's not gonna be a good partner, not gonna be a good parent? Now my kids are in therapy at 23, 24 because you said
Right,
I didn't have time. And it's because
Yes.
that more or less it's like they're telling you like you need to settle because time is winding down. And it's like no, because if timing is right, you can still pretty much do anything. I mean, technology is getting better. Like you have the money, you can make it happen as far as like having kids or what have you at an older age. We see people do it every day,
right.
Mm-hmm.
celebrities and otherwise. But I I've got like I'm kind of like in my head about that, like a bit freaked out. But I'm like, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen when it's supposed to. But
Right.
I'm not gonna be told more or less because that's the messaging to settle purposely so I can get the kids out the way and settle down.
Right.
So I can be maybe miserable like you or like not get the best partner out of it.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm glad that you definitely touched on that not settling thing, because far too often, right, we hear it all the time, like if you get to a certain age, They're like, oh, and especially for those of us who are raised in the church, holy and sanctified and all that stuff, and they're like, don't date unless you're trying to get married. Remember? So like you like, oh no. And then 27, 28, and you're like, yes, you can give people opportunities, but there are people who literally get into their 30s and haven't really had like a proper relationship, like a proper long-term committed, mutually exclusive or something like that relationship.
Yes.
And then we end up looking at welcome to the club, and we
Right.
end up looking at them like they're the problem. Like
Right.
for a dude, they're like, it's whatever. He's still trying to figure his life out. As a girl, it's like, you seem to have your stuff together. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And then we begin to hear it all the time. They're like, oh, the auntie was like, we've never seen this person with anybody. They haven't brought anybody to the table. That's really good. Oh, you're 31, you're 32, you're 33. Oh, you're wasting your ovaries. you know, like you're wasting those birthing hips. I've heard it all, right?
Yeah.
And
I
like
think we've all heard it all.
right, and you're right. I try to be understanding and be like, they don't mean it like that, but like you
Right.
said, like maybe on some
After
level,
like 3-4 times, I'm like, no, you know what you're doing. We've had to talk.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, because I've seen it. I'm like, if anything, I started joking, like I was like, on the bright side, I have escaped my first divorce, so yay. Because I see it, and I'm like, I'd rather choose and be chosen
Sure.
in the right season with the right person than
Sure.
just get it over with. Because I don't think that
Yes.
good relationships, healthy relationships, are something that you settle in or you just get over it and you do what
Exactly.
you do.
Yeah. So a question from Patty. Hey, Patty. She was on the first round of women in our panel. And she asked, how do you think you manage dating and not settling? What are some standards / boundaries that you place?
Mm. I mean, I'm in Canada, so like dating here is a little weird with black men. It's very different here. But I'm in currently I'm in like a long distance relationship with someone who was living here and is back home.
Really
So
nice.
yes, so it's like very interesting. I get a lot of like negative feedback, but a lot of supportive, positive stuff too from some people. But I
Mhm.
think like people like at least how we met, like it was very like innocent. Like my roommate, my best friend, she hooked me up because the guy she was talking to was his friend at the time, and I was like,
Yeah.
whatever, this will be fun, and that's what it will be. And like almost 2 years later, but I think you have to like people like, and it just fell into like the way we the first time I met, like we talked, and I made it to conscious be like, nothing's going to happen because I don't want anything to happen because I know how I can rush
I
into
love
things
that.
or like move too fast, and then like
Mhm.
not so much that I'm worried, but they'll have an idea of me, but like I want to know who they're really like first without everything else
Sure.
clouding it. And like he was just smart and he could hold a conversation and he liked philosophy like I did. Not that you have to have all
Beautiful.
of these common interests, but like it's like I to this day I love hearing him talk. Like I'll just we could be on the phone for like an hour and I'm just quiet and he's like say something. I'm like I like hearing you talk. It's just
I
I think you have to
love it.
think like know what your values are, what's important to you. And then once I think you're settled in that in yourself, you kind of exude that energy because
Yes.
what you do put it like what you put out, so to speak, consciously or subconsciously, you will bring around you. So I think
Mm-hmm.
like if you manage what your expectations are for yourself and what your values are, people will come along and naturally align with that and fall into that. So I don't
Yes.
know, like I don't know many people, sadly, that like have these great long marriages, but like other people I do know, they're just like it happened, or like we were friends and it just kind of happened that it transitioned into something romantic, or like you just find somebody that's like your best friend, but someone you like on the days you may not love them, but you still always like them.
I love that.
Like is important to me. You need to like the person on the days you don't love them. Because people are like, oh, I love you, but I don't like you. And I'm like, y'all are crazy. That don't make
Yeah,
sense. I could like you and not love you
I've been.
right now. But I need to like you. And like I like
I need to
you
like
need to
you.
like for me, I'll say number one for Patricia, like so I would say a standard would be like I need to like you as a person,
Yeah.
like not in relationship to me, but just as a person. Do I
Whoa.
like who you are? And
I
if
like
that's a yes,
that.
then like yeah, then like let's go, we can
I
do it. But
like
yeah,
that.
I like who my partner is as a person without me. After me, if
I
there's
like
after
that.
me, I'm always gonna like who they are. So
I
that
like
always
that.
speaks to me.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. I have a comment from Selena Allen. Hi, Miss Selena. And I love this comment. You have to know yourself enough to
Yeah.
know what is important to you. Know yourself. Love it.
Mhm.
I love that.
Absolutely. That's the freaking movie.
Yeah, a boundary that was very important to me. Um, Number one was a physical boundary. I do not come to your place. I have to meet you in public. You will not know where I live. I let those be known up front. Those are the boundaries. If you try to cross that line, then you're already blocked.
Okay. Especially
Blocked
on
Off,
and
the first
blocked.
couple of dates. I was like,
off top.
I was like, we don't need to be hanging out
I'll
in
meet
nobody's
you
house.
there. You don't need to
Off
drive me.
top.
I will meet you.
Yeah.
Off top. As a woman, we've said this over the past couple of weeks. Safety is such an issue, and I will keep repeating that
Yes.
safety is an issue for us. And your goal should be to make us feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Give
And
us that
trust your
space to
gut.
feel safety.
And you have to trust your gut. Like, because I've been there where like I've gotten to somewhere and I'm like, something just doesn't feel right. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I was like, you know what, just leave. I'm like, you know what? You seem like a person, but I'm not feeling this.
Mhm.
And I have yet to be wrong, especially given that, like, whenever you travel and like I meet people when I'm
Sure.
traveling, I was like, I am very keen on trusting my intuition when it comes to stuff like
Good.
that.
Yes.
Sure.
So,
Sure. I mean, I think even the introduction from men can be traumatic to us ladies. Have you guys, for example, ever gotten cat calls or some kind of, derogatory remark that left you feeling just icky?
Yes.
Do
yes.
share. Do share.
There's two of them. Like it happens so many times that they all just jumble up together. But
Yes.
two of the ones that stick up in my mind so much. Um, One, I was walking home from work,
Mm,
and it was like this, one of these like minor streets, and dude was across the street, and I'm like, I have my headphones in, but I'm not listening to anything. I'm just trying not to be bothered,
Smart.
right?
Right.
And thankfully it was the dude who was doing the cat calling plus his homeboy. And it was brothers too. So I'm like, all right, cool, it's whatever. So I'm like, I'm walking minding my business, and he's there trying to get my attention. So I look at him to kind of like indicate I hear you, but I'm not interested. So I keep it moving.
yeah.
And he just keeps going at it, keeps going. And I'm just like minding my business until I hear his friend. He's like, yo, dude, chill. She clearly is not interested. And that's when he stops. So then I turn around and I'm like, thank you for that. I appreciate you. And I just kept it moving. Now the other one, and this one's more recent within the last couple of years. But the other one that really stuck with me was when I was in college at a mutual college place. And
Wow.
it was a lot of stuff happens at that main intersection by 7th Street, and I was crossing that big intersection to go
Mhm.
to across the street to the cafeteria area, and it was this. I remember it was a car full of white boys, and I'm like, I to this day remember the outfit I was wearing. It was like I was wearing black tights with like a black sweater top, and I'm just like crossing, and it was parents' weekend. Yeah, that crazy. Parents' weekend, parents all over the place, families, and I'm walking to cross the street, and the one guy, kind of like screams out of the car. It's like something to do with like, hey, something, something, bring that booty over here, and I'm like, I just stopped, and I remember there was like this like somebody's grandparents and the student were like across from me, and I felt like I was the one in the wrong. Like they were looking at me like, oh, these people. And
Wow.
I'm just like, I'm
Wow.
just I'm just walking. And then I'm not like I wasn't showing any skin or nothing. And like I've been followed to my door once, and I was like all extra covered up. Yes, girl. Yes.
Oh, people are crazy. Yes. Yes.
This is, I mean, and I mean, the reason why I ask this is because when we say the word traumatic in terms of dating from our experience, you may have some men that get defensive and say, "Ah, you're being over dramatic." Traumatic doesn't
Mhm.
always mean like I'm getting murdered or
Right.
hit by a car or in some like tragic accident. the things that we're recounting right now, although it may seem innocent to the men out there saying, well, it's just a compliment, we're showing you that we like you. But if you think about it, as we talk to you now from our perspective, stuff like that is traumatic. So if you see us and you want to give us a compliment, but we don't look like we're in the readiness to receive it, hold it to yourself. Whisper it in a prayer to the sky. Talk to your friends and say, dog, I saw the most beautiful woman, and keep it moving.
Because you know when it's being received. There is a different energy with like, because you know, like dudes have complimented me and I'm like, oh, thank you so much, I appreciate that, and they keep it moving. Whereas you know when it's not necessarily, when the person is not in a receptive mode, just keep it.
And I've seen it escalate to go from beautiful in the first sentence to you ugly black bitch in the second sentence.
Okay,
and it's like, okay, so which one am I? Help me.
It can be both. Like
a little bit of both. Okay.
No, I'm saying it cannot. It cannot be both. Like, because with like pick one, but it can't be both.
It's too much. Like Patty says, it's a deep-seated fear. It's a deep-seated fear. So you know, with us telling our experiences, we're hoping that the men that see it out here, even the women, depending on your sexual orientation, when you see this, instead of becoming defensive and saying, well, let me explain this and that. That's not what we're doing this for. We're seeking empathy, and then look in yourself, look inward and say, how can I do better for the Black women that have just told their stories? What can I do better? So again, if you can sense that a woman is not open to having her body critiqued or getting a compliment about, face, body, what have you, keep it to yourself. You're not going to die from withholding a compliment. I've never seen that happen.
I agree.
Okay.
And body is like it could be a potentially very touchy topic for people. Like even when you may sit there and want to compliment a woman, honor her body, however you choose to focus on that. You never know if that is something that the person is actually struggling with and you don't know it. So you sit there, you're thinking you're giving them a compliment, when in reality, they may feel otherwise, or they may feel super self-conscious about that.
Weight gain, weight loss.
Okay.
Those are not compliments either. You look like you've lost weight. You look great. No, send that up to Jesus. I didn't need that. I don't need that one. Not that one. I feel like they're generic comments that are always okay. If you'd like, some people, like for those of you who have people that that are just impulsive, they just cannot keep it to themselves. It's compulsive. You can say like, you look nice. I like your outfit. Your hair is like, but it doesn't need to be both face, body, like something like super physical. It could be overall, like very general. You look beautiful today. I think you're gorgeous. You look nice.
Megan, you are right. Those are some of the compliments I remember the most. A man that will preface it and say, look, I'm just coming because I have to say this. You look nice. And then they walk away.
You right?
I don't even have time to say thank you.
I like you. Come back. They're going to be like, oh, come back.
Just say, well, thanks.
I know, right?
But those are the most impactful because it's such a sincere thing. Because in my experience, and it may not be everyone else's, but the moment somebody compliments my body and I say thank you, the door is open. They have walked in, they have closed the door, they have locked it, and they have inserted themselves into my life. All right, so what's your number? Whoa, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Do you have a man?
Ooh.
Why? Does that matter?
That part, right? That part. It's right. Oh, you touched on something for me that's like it's a pet peeve, right? The whole women have to create an imaginary man
but they don't even care. The next question, even if you do, can you have a friend?
Yes.
No.
Yes. How many ladies, if you're watching the show, have you created an imaginary boyfriend so that you could get out of giving your number to a man? Right. That is so funny, Winnie.
No, seriously, I feel like men, obviously we're not talking all men here, but we're talking generally speaking, a lot of men who would approach, respect, my imaginary husband more than they would respect my decision to just be like, I'm just not
Wow.
interested.
Say it again, Winnie. Say that again.
Absolutely. These men, some particular men out there, right, have a greater level of respect towards this imaginary husband of mine than they do with me simply saying, oh, no, thank you, I'm not interested.
That's a whole nother episode. But yes.
Yeah.
And I like that is that just hit that just upsets me deep in my spirit. And I don't know because it's like you're not bothering me or the respect for me. You're not bothering me because you respect this man
Yeah.
more than me. So it's like you still don't see me, respect me,
Mm-hmm.
anything. And like I said, like and like you said, it's not all men, the men that we've experienced. Like
Absolutely.
particularly where I'm from, but like the next question is whether you have like even if you have a man husband, well, can you have friends? We can just be
So,
Can
friends.
you have
What's your
friends?
number? I don't
right.
want new friends. And then it's like, oh, so your man doesn't let you have friends. It's not about what they let me do. It's a no.
Oh,
And
That's
like,
so funny.
and then now I have to be nasty.
Exactly.
And now I've confirmation bias for you. Now
yes,
I am that bit, and it's not fair. And it's
you
not fair.
validated it. Yes.
Love it.
And that's how they go around, jacking it up for the next woman because they're like, women are like pretty women are just so evil and vile, and they think they're all that, forgetting everything
It
that led
is
up to you
very
having to
sad.
sit there. Like I've literally no lie. I feel I'm in. No, I'm not embarrassed because I have to do this just like for my safety. Like the guy who like followed me, rode around till they found me going to pick up my trash can from the curb. In my head, I was like, "How did you think this was gonna play out? Like, you rode around and found me, and then you and even got out of the car, like, because I was ignoring him, right? Got out of the car, and now you're trying to approach me, right? And in my head, I'm like, honestly, tell me, how do you think this is gonna play out as you're approaching me at my residence?
This is
Right?
traumatic as hell.
That's scary.
Exactly. So quick thinking, ladies, feel free to use this. The African in me came out and I was like, girl, I went in, I got a bowl and a knife, and I was like, I came back out. I was like, listen, my friend, hey, I've been praying for a husband. Thank you. I needed a sacrifice. You're here. God sent me a sacrifice.
Yes, yes, yeah. And whatever worked, whatever worked. You
What
weren't
did he
violent.
do?
He
What did
refused to
he
be
do?
tribute. He refused to be a tribute. He got back in his car, never done.
And now you're crazy in the story to his
And
friends, but whatever. I'm
then
safe.
somebody
I'm
started
Exactly.
safe.
a story of how he was almost a sacrifice.
But the
I'm
fact
like,
that you had to do that, like, granted, I'm sure it wasn't funny in the moment, but the fact that you had
no.
to do that,
Yeah.
like,
And they will leave out the stalking. They will leave out, oh, I circled her block multiple times.
right.
Yeah, and it's like y'all
Yes.
need to really know. Like the man who held his friend accountable, more of y'all, please. More of
Yes.
them. Thank you. Because when like you need to start telling the truth about how you're approaching people to realize
Mhm.
how it escalated to
Yeah.
just the end part. Like men and women. Like
Yeah.
you need to, take accountability and ownership, be like, but I did this too. Please.
Mm, that part.
Good for you though, Whitney, because that's scary. I would have been
Yeah,
like,
That
I
right.
need a
that's
Yeah.
really
weapon,
scary.
please.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, I could have kids. I could have a crazy person, right? And then the
Mhm.
crazy person sitting there thinking, like, you could be putting women in way more danger than you think, right? Because you never know what kind of situation the person may be going through in their own personal life as well.
Yeah.
As a big advocate for like harassment, assault, abuse, I'm like, there are women out there who deal with this stuff in very tough situations, and things are made worse by seemingly unwelcome situations. So
Yeah.
And at the
Yeah.
very,
yeah,
very most, like men, be careful too, like because you really don't know who, like what people are
you could be
going
a
through, or
sacrifice,
what
my
they got
friend.
on them. They might have the strap. They could have a knife.
Mhm.
Like some people don't play. They be like, no, I've been
I
this
have
too many
mates.
times. Stab, stab, stab. Baseball
Okay.
bats. Like you don't know. So like at the very least, you want to protect yourself. But like,
Mm-hmm.
would you do this to if someone does to your mother, are you gonna be upset? Don't do it to somebody else.
Right.
It shouldn't have to be that. It shouldn't have to be in relation to a woman in your life. But like,
No, it
if you have a
shouldn't have to
daughter
be
and a
that.
boy did that, would you be upset? So don't do it to me.
Yeah.
That's and I hate that like we're still there with that with like people, whether it's like men and women or other like dynamics, but like it shouldn't have to be relational for it to click. Just
Not,
be a good person.
Just be
not
a good
no,
person.
like that's and honestly, that for me, that's a big thing as well. This whole idea of like because I've had this conversation in different circles, and I often hear it from guys. Some guys, they're like, "Oh, I have sisters or I have daughters." I'm like, it shouldn't take that. Like,
Exactly.
Right.
just the fact that I'm also human and I happen to exist in
Absolutely.
contextually vulnerable spaces doesn't
Mhm.
mean that just me existing is
Mm.
should put me in that situation. And you shouldn't need to be proximal to somebody of that experience for you to relate to that.
Yeah. So you know what saddens me the most about this conversation is that we have spent a huge chunk of time talking about dating being traumatic, and we
Oh
could
yeah.
go
Yeah, we
on
did that list of
for
words.
days. We could go on for weeks,
Hmm.
hours, months. That's the part that scares me and saddens me about dating as a Black woman. It is traumatic.
But while we're here, can we also address this statement that Selena said, something about we shouldn't wait on men to speak up? I'm like, yes, sure, we shouldn't. But right, I wouldn't. I personally would never. I would hesitate to tell a woman how to respond, because we're constantly calculating, like, what is my risk factor in this scenario, right?
Mhm.
Because for me, I'm like, it was two men. I wasn't sure how how the silent party would have reacted if in that case. I wasn't sure how the other party would have reacted if I said something, right? Because I'm like, there's two of them, one of me. I don't know, what the dynamics are,
Mhm.
right? So for me, the
That's
easier
fine.
option
Yeah.
was the easier, most safest, or least riskiest
Facts.
option for me was keep your distance and continue to create distance until you can get to safety,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly. And
because
then
like
for me, it's also. Oh, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Yeah,
So
because
for
I'm
me,
like,
it's also a thing of time. I'm in line at the gas station. I'm at the market. I don't have time to really express
yeah,
my level of discomfort.
yeah,
I'm trying to pay for my groceries and my gas, but I know I'm slick at the mouth. And like when he said, I don't know what men in their anger and rage are capable of.
yeah,
So I'm very mindful of how I react, because again, it does go back to what when he said safety.
yeah.
One of the biggest lessons that my mom taught me in terms of um, response is, Britt,
Hmm.
you don't know
Yes,
the person that's receiving your response. So you need to be very careful.
yes,
Sometimes it's best to say nothing.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people will say the craziest of things, because I know, like, because personally, this is actually one of the topics that I love, this particular topic, especially as a transportation professional, because this really, like, falls into that whole street and transit harassment thing.
Mm.
And that is something that, again, as technical professionals, we will only begin to scratch the surface in bringing it
Oh, okay.
into technical spaces, right? And so I'm glad that even as we're talking about dating, that we are addressing that, because that this is a very big issue. It's a very big concern in our singles, and even in people who are coupled, right? People
Yeah.
people don't stop reaching to you just because you married, just because you
Right.
got a man, right?
Right.
And we hear it. They'll
Mhm.
keep asking. They'll keep asking if you want a friend or
Yeah.
not. you
Right.
know,
Right.
and until we really normalize these kind of, having these conversations, right, and recognizing that, hey, dear men or persons who happen to be in contextual privilege in those situations, we really need you to exercise your contextual privilege.
Yeah, sure.
Because
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
me, I recognize sometimes I'm the one in a position of power to speak up for Black fam. They're not really feeling you. It's all right.
Yeah.
You're not the one.
Yeah. So we have talked about dating being traumatic, and you guys have agreed. The next word was unfair. Is dating unfair as a Black woman?
It was for me, but now I'm like, I don't care. Like I threw away everybody's expert. Like, no, it's not. At least not for me anymore. Because like a lot of it was societal pressure, and then like, you internalize that, and you're like, I have to do these things. And now I'm just like, I don't care, because this is gonna have to be my life, my partner, my whatever, and my happiness
Yeah.
and peace. So no, now I'm like, y'all can think whatever you want. Believe what you want. Go
Oh,
ahead,
that
believe
part.
what you want in the
Mm,
least toxic way possible. Believe what you
Yeah.
want. I'm having a good
Yeah.
time.
hallelujah. Hallelujah. I will fully second that. I believe when I was younger, it did feel unfair in terms of, because I was raised super strict, so I didn't date until I graduated college. So I felt a little stunted in that department. Um, but as she said, at this point in life, I'm like, I am in my own lane. I'm like, who you date bothers me none. Unless
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to involve me in it, that's a different story.
Yeah.
And until then, I'm like, listen, I'm minding my business, you know, doing my best to stay aligned with the things that I, want to attract to me, and that is attracted to me. I walk in that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but I recognize the fact that there are some people who may feel
Mhm.
that it is unfair. You know.
Yeah,
Yes.
that, I
That
mean, for
yes.
sure. I think a lot of that unfairness played out in the men that I chose in my 20s and even my early 30s.
Mhm.
Um, I'm getting told in my ear, uplift the black man, take him as he is, build him up, don't leave him, dangling behind you. Um, make that your project, be that uplifting, strong black woman. So I found that in situations that I knew I should have avoided,
Child,
based on my place in life, I
yes,
had those people in my ears saying, "No, Britt, you have to help them because you're a black woman, and that's what you do. You nurture,
baby.
you empower, you make it right." And to me,
Okay.
that's unfair because in my experience, going to the school that we went to, Winnie, they were taught the opposite.
Okay.
Marry,
Okay.
date up, marry
Okay.
up. If he's
Okay.
not where you need him to be, that's not the person for you. So
Mm.
I'm having a clash of, this these ideals mixed with
Mhm.
ones from when I come back home in a
Yeah.
more diverse environment that's saying, "Oh, your standards are way too high, sweetie.
Oh,
You want
okay.
somebody with a job, car, and a house? You asking for a lot."
Oh my God. Yo, Brittany, you are
I
preaching.
know. I really thought that I was asking for so much, so I really dumbed it down to, okay, can you speak English? Is that your primary language? Like I had to dumb it down so much
Oh my.
to
Oh,
cast a wider net to get somebody, and I thought that's what I had to do.
and I recognize it is a particular social conditioning, first and foremost.
Mhm.
It is a social conditioning, and it's an age, it's a particular age season where it's like, even me, I look back, and I find myself saying this all the time, where the things that I put up with in my 20s, you couldn't pay me enough to put up with in my 30s. You just could not, because
Yeah.
you have unlearned a lot, and I have
Yes.
worked on me, right, being the right fit for the kind of person that I expect to get,
Mhm.
Hmm.
right. And so, and you're right. I truly, I believe that these are the things that we do need to teach folks younger,
Yeah.
right? We need to share that word to our sister girls coming up, so that they don't also have that learning curve. Because as you said, we see our counterparts coming into college have a very different, mindset on how to approach and navigate these dating scenes than we do.
Yeah.
Agreed. Now,
Yeah.
this could also be a separate episode for you because I think like related to that is I always say women children are raised and man children are coddled. And
Ooh,
like that's exactly how it plays out like when they become adults. And it's like if you raised a man child the same way you raised a girl child,
yes.
husbands everywhere, just generations of husbands because what we
Thank
have
you.
now are generations of wives. And it's like we can't find men. It's just because like I'm not someone's mother. Like personally, I don't
Mm,
have kids yet. I cannot raise a man. Like I can't. Now, as far as like the combo building, like I'm 29, so like I don't have it together all the way. My
mhm,
partner, I don't expect them to have it all the way together at my age. It's just like it's not the 1960s. We don't have a
Right.
great job and a house and a car and like
mhm,
a savings account. It's not going to happen for like this generation. So like I have no problem if like our iron sharpens iron. We're building each other up, yes, but
Yes.
I'm not going to build you like it's not going to be a Beyonce ring the alarm. I'm not going to build you
okay.
up for you to walk away and now they walked off with all my stuff and everything I'm putting to
Ooh.
you.
Oh, with
Like
all your stuff,
like no.
sis.
Like you like I don't believe in that, but like I say it's women are raised and men are coddled and then released into the world, and they look for their mom, but they don't want you to be
Mhm.
their mom. But like
Oh.
Uh-oh.
there's no other role here. Like because I can't be your girlfriend because it's not enough apparently, and being like your wife is just not enough.
Uh-oh.
But I can't be your mom because then it's too much. But that's what you require. And
Mm.
like to me, I'm just like, but and this goes back to your parents still. They like even my parents, and it goes back to the parents because like this is you. And now because you'll see a lot of mothers pawning their sons off. Like find you a good woman to take care of you.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good.
no. Like my
Yeah.
brother cook clean, like he has kids, primary custody of his kids, like he better parent than I could be ever. But like my mom at a certain point, she's like, you need to know how to do these things on your
Yes.
own so you don't rely on a woman to do them for you. And
Yes.
she was like, I wasn't raised hyper like independent, but she was like, you need to know how to like survive on your own, and if a partner comes into the fold, that's
Yeah.
even better. Now you can balance the workload. But like I think a lot of men are still just being coddled and then released at 18, 19, 20
Mm.
to find a
Hallelujah.
woman to be their new mother in the role of a wife. And it
Wow.
won't it won't
Speak
be me.
on it.
It won't be
Yes.
me. I don't have that right now, thank God. But like no. And it's
Yeah.
important to teach women that because we don't date young because our parents or dads are like, my daughter will not date. And I'm like, now she's
Yes.
being played constantly in her
Thank
early
you.
20s. Hello, early self. But like, and because there's no experience, or like we're taught that like you can't date around, you're loose, or like
Yes.
don't have sex, all these things. And it's like, but then we don't know what we like because we don't have any experience to go off of. And
Because
if
you
we
don't
have
learn.
experience, we're fast, we're a hoe,
Mm-hmm.
we've been around, and it's like which is it? And then as you get to the point where you're just like, I don't care about any of the noise anymore. Like I have to decide what I want to do, get my
Amazing.
own
Oof.
experience, and like
Thank
figure it out.
you.
And like the
Yes.
younger women can do that, the better. Like I think it's getting earlier with us as a species, as a group of people. I think it's getting earlier. Like luckily this is me at 29. My mom is like, I wish I had what y'all had, like technology wise, to
Yeah.
just find other
Mhm.
women to like learn these things. But like
Yes.
that would be something like with my daughter and son, they'll be raised the same as far as like these are what you need to expect of yourself, of other people. You need to be able to care for yourself
Yeah.
and care for other people as well. You need to be sufficient, like I said, not hyper independent, but you need
Mhm.
to be able
Yeah.
to manage your life because
Yeah.
I'll be damned if my children's partners are like, I can't stand your daughter's son, they
Oh.
want me to be their parent, and now I only gotta look at me. It's gonna be my fault and their dad's fault, and
Oof.
like
Oof.
you can't come back home with me. Like you can, but I don't. I would prefer you didn't at like 35,
Yeah.
40. I need you to
Right.
pick a good partner, and you need to recognize love in the world. And if you raise
Yeah.
your children like the right way, those like they'll be able to recognize that. And I think
Mhm.
when you miss out on certain things at home, or like I was raised very strict, not so much religiously, but just
Me too.
couldn't do nothing. I got to university. I lived 1 year on campus. I went to university in my city, and like great time. Personally, my mom was like, "You're not picking up your phone." I was like, "I'm busy having fun
Mhm.
doing the things I should not do." And
Amen.
it was a lot, but like you learn a lot too. And I think men get to start that earlier and play it
Yes.
out. Like, I mean,
Yes.
I jammed it all into like that 1-2 years in university, like further, and then like slowed down until the end of my degree. But we get out there like, what do we like? What's new? Like you said, Brittany, like you have what you were told this we need to do for a man, and then the people in your environment. And because you don't get to be exposed to it, you have no idea what's right or wrong or what you like.
Yeah.
And
Right.
now you're like, what do I do?
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
fair. That so in that sense, it's not fair.
Yeah.
And
It's a very
and I,
liberal. Go ahead, Winnie.
yeah. And yes, and I guess tying back to the last two comments that have been popped up, right? It's not necessarily about necessarily having a rotation, but it's about being able to communicate and be comfortable having your yes be yes and your no be no, and learn how to give enthusiastic continuous consent, right?
Yeah.
When we're talking about, because it's about bodily autonomy, what it
Mhm.
comes down to. We
Mhm.
really want to be able to empower ourselves and our fellow sister girls to be like, yeah, girl, if what you want to do is do things on the first date, do that consciously, do that intentionally,
Yes.
right? If
Yes.
and if, even if you said that, yes,
Yes.
boo, like that's what I want to do, and it gets there and the vibes just ain't right, for you to know, like, you know what, fam, listen, I was thinking about it, but like it's just not hitting it. It's
No.
not hitting it for me. But thank you. Have a blessed day. Like being able to really vocalize that unapologetically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because honestly, there's a lot of shame, especially for sister girls, which is what we see it. We see it even just from college, where I heard that dudes like, yo, these sisters are hard to get. Like they want us to be doing all these things, or we could go over here. and things are way easier, you know.
Exactly.
And like, and I'm not gonna lie, like I hear it also, like when I date different, different types of people, they're like, this, like, you at work. I'm like, I know. Like, I used to have this guy. He's my countryman, and he used to say this phrase. It's a little phrase. He was like, we need, like, he would say, he would say, "Jabet, tiji tek." So it literally translates to, beautiful, your work is effort. And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, I have no shame in that, because I recognize that I whoever comes into my sphere of influence, I assure you, you will leave better.
Hopefully they don't leave, but if they do, it'll be better.
Oh,
But like, you want that.
like, yeah, right. Ideally, I'm saying, like, if you choose to stay, great. I'm like, I'm not, because like everybody's not for everyone at all times. But until I find the right person, or rather, until I find that myself in that season with the right person, the right time, in the right season,
Sure.
I allow people to come and go. I'm not gonna hold you hostage. My love will not hold you hostage. I assure you that. But my intent is that, as we started earlier, that we will not settle. My intent is that, whoever happens to be there, right? Come, learn something, and let us grow together. Whether we're growing together towards the same goal, or we have to have that conversation of, like, you know what, this is not really working. It's not for the best for either of us. So how do we, move forward from here, and have that be amicable on some level? Because there's just too many folks out here trying to be coddled, and sisters are tired. If anything, like, when it's all said and done, sisters are tired. I used to say this a lot, like, a couple years ago. I was like, Winnie O's Nursery School of Love done shut down a long time ago. Okay, I am no longer, teaching, training, educating, mentoring for the next person. Come correct. Let's grow.
I mean, it's, having gone to middle school, high school, and then college, being a minority, I too, when he heard that, man, y'all are hard work. I mean, I'm gonna get somewhere it's easier. So you're basically saying, because I won't give up sex to you, you're gonna go to the other side. That's basically what it boiled down to. In my experience, in middle school, I wouldn't make out with certain people. In high school, I wouldn't have sex with certain people. In college, I wasn't gonna sleep with everybody on the football team.
Okay.
But, the very same thing. Let's flip the script. I've known Black women that have, unapologetically enjoyed sex from a very early age with multiple people, and that was weaponized to call them a hoe, to call them the lady of the streets. So that gives us confusion on. So then what is what? Going back to Megan, I do what I want then.
Yes. And it's a double standard where it's like, it's always one of the extreme. It's like, if we even talk about it, because for me, I'm like, I'm allowed to talk. So I'm like, because I'm comfortable talking about these things. People assume one thing, if you're comfortable in talking about these spaces. Whereas on the flip side, if you're even afraid to say the word sex, then people are like, oh, she's such a prude. So it's like always, you don't really get put anywhere in that in between. And so, especially when it comes to the dating sphere, it's like it's almost like you literally have to be your biggest advocate, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
sure.
And nobody likes a ran through man either. Just for me, like, you can have, like, I want you to have experience. Please gather that, but like I just don't think, like, I think that men are also prizes, or can be. Some men, just like women are prizes, some men can be prizes, but like, I don't want to ran through man either. I'm not going to put a number on that, because I don't believe in that. It's really mature. Whatever that is for you, I just I know what ran through is for me, and I don't want that. And you, like we said, but like, they'll go to different races. Like, in like where I'm from, like, my mom she's like quite older. I'm not. You look very young. I'm not sure how old you are, but she's like very late. Like, my father and her were separated. He's gone now, but she's like, a lot of the Black men here have divorced their white wives and gone back to Black women. And my mom was like, I'm not taking on your garbage and baggage now. I was perfectly good enough before, and no, and that it's a common pattern here. You'll see it, and it's like, so we didn't do what you wanted then, because when you said, I was just like, they don't know that, like, they're not going to enjoy that in the long run, because like no one wants to be with like, not that things have to be a challenge, but there should be like a back and forth, like there should be a coming together, like a meeting of the minds, like there should be, like you said, like it, like iron sharpens iron. It shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm this, like the man is just this, the all saying he has, everything has to go, she just does whatever. Like what, when he said you want somebody that's going to be equally yoked with you, because when you come together, that relationship, that like whatever it turns into is going to be incredibly like fruitful, and that's what you
Right.
want, something
Right.
fruitful. But like there's nothing keeping you there if you just get everything you want from somebody. It's
Right.
like, what's left to hold you there?
Right. And let's be clear, Black women are not against interracial dating.
Oh God, no.
Like, love is
No.
love. Love is love.
That's
But
what you
in
want.
our experience, when it comes down to, the engagement between Black men and Black women, if a Black man experiences a pattern or a series of bad Black women, their next recourse is, well, I'm gonna go date a white
Yeah.
woman. I'm gonna go date a
Mhm.
Spanish woman. Like, that really bothers us.
I am.
Like,
Listen,
at some point, I hope that if not tonight, they realize, men, that is not an insult to us.
it's
We
not.
don't care.
But also
You're
maybe it's
cool.
you. Like it can't, I would say like it can't be everybody. Like if it's everybody, then it's probably you're the probably the issue. Because like men never look at themselves. Like as a woman, if I have relationship and it's not working, I'm like, it must be me. And we're told that it's us if that's the
Yeah.
case. Versus
Exactly.
them, we're just like, oh, it's not the right woman. Just find a new one. And if like you've been dating one type of woman, go find a different kind. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, bro, it's you. That's the problem.
Right.
You just found someone to put up with you. And I don't want to be personally tolerated. I would like to be respected and loved.
Yes.
Right.
And
Yes.
so yeah,
Yeah.
like
There's
men
a
are not taught
difference
to look
between being
inside themselves.
tolerated. Yeah. Facts. And even like Brittany, I am so glad that you honed in on that whole the misperception of, oh, interracial. I'm like, dude, do whatever you want to. But I recognize there's a difference in when sisters go, interethnic versus when a lot of brothers do. I know for me, like if I were to be in a long-term commitment romantic relationship with somebody who happens to not be of the deeply melanated persuasion, I know for me there are certain criteria that I will look for, right? I was like, I need to make sure that, boo, we are we are in step. Okay, come hella high water, we are in step on what is. Okay, like I will not sugarcoat these things that are important to me. Like when it comes to the plight of the Black man and the Black people and the Black women, like what it is. Okay, if you don't know, learn something. All right, and it cannot be for me. Don't do it for me. I was like, it has to be something that, like, even if we don't work out, it's something that you're interested in, period. Grow in that, right? Whereas oftentimes I've seen it more times than not where there's a lot more identity crisis issues that we end up dealing with, right? There's different issues that are children of mixed heritage have to deal with, and that's a very real thing. It's a very real issue that we need to address when it comes to who we choose in lifelong partnership, right? It absolutely impacts how your child will be identifying, how society will identify your child, and the dynamics that they then have to navigate as a child who may identify as Black, especially if they're evidently melanated. They won't get they won't get to pass for white unless if they really, really hella light, but still, like when it comes to the plight of Blackness.
I will say that is something I do worry about, and I'm a big, like, I was like, the joke in my friend group is like I'm someone who minds my business. Like I don't care about interracial dating as far as that goes. Like I've never done it. I don't intend to. For me, like I love Black men. My partner is like a dark skinned, chocolatey, just delicious Black man. But like I always wonder when it comes to kids, like because do you not care about? Because most times you'll see those guys. Some, at least from my experience, they don't care until the kids come in, and now you're trying to cram in all this info, and you see it fall apart because now there's issues at play that you just, I guess, didn't care to look into or thought it would just work out. And then the kids, I mean, in that happens, kids will come in and mess up everything in general. Maybe not mess up, but they'll change the dynamic. And
or people, because I've seen like folks, white women who have been married to black men for ages, and they're like, I didn't know there was racism. He's never said anything about racism. I was like, sis,
and then I'm
how long
like,
you
but
been married to
man, like black person
him
is in relationship, you just thought racism ended
too?
because you're white, the
Yeah.
proximity to white, because most children have a white parent if it's a white dad, even though they don't really look white. It's very rare. Like usually you have to have so many kids before you might get like a white looking one with it, like, or even just like in like with any like races that you're mixing or any like ethnicities, like you let us having multiple kids, they're all going to look typically like whoever is more melanated. They might have the features maybe of someone who's, but the skin tone, like you can tell. So I always
Yeah.
like, I don't really care if I see, but when I see kids, I'm just like, are your kids safe emotionally? Like, are they like
Yes.
healthy emotionally? Like,
Yes.
what are they learning about themselves through you? And like,
Thank
do you
you.
give, if it's like a melanated person and a non-melanated, well, I guess white, there's only
Yeah.
non-melanated people. I'm always like, what is the white parent doing at home? Like that's always my
Thank
biggest
you.
concern. And I know that's prejudice probably, and I'm okay with that because I'm learning, but I'm always like, what are they learning about like their blackness with the white
Thank
parent?
you.
Because what is the
Yes.
white parent doing to like secure, to make the kids secure in themselves? Because,
Absolutely.
and what is the black parent doing? Because I see all the time the black
Thank
parent just
you.
abandons all blackness. And I'm like, we can see you're black. So like what are
Right.
you teaching the kids? Like what, like, and you talk, sometimes you talk to kids and you're just like, oh my God, like your heart just
Mhm.
breaks. You're like, they like either they don't like themselves or
Yes.
they don't know who, I mean, and
Mm,
not knowing who you are, like we all go through that, but I think there's an added layer when your parents aren't secure in who they are either, whether they're white or black or whatever. But I
Yeah.
always like, my heart always breaks for the kids, and that's my always my concern. Like if you have kids, like are y'all on the same page with this race stuff flat out?
Thank
Because
you.
they're always going to be black kids, at least if it's black and white or black and some, like black and like Latino or like Asian, they're going to be viewed as black kids, at least in the
Mhm.
Western world. Maybe
Yeah.
over there, I don't know, but I'm always like, have you come to agreement emotionally, mentally, how you're going to be able to support them and be
Mhm.
there?
Yeah.
and I'm also
Absolutely.
curious about interracial children when they grow up, their dating life. I'm curious to know. I don't think I know any
I'm in Canada,
biracial
so it's very,
biracial
very
common.
Canada's like most, a lot, like it's interracial date's been big here for like decades. Like yeah, like a lot, most of my friends are mixed, like black and white, or like a lot of them are. So it's very I'm not, I'm like, people just think I'm Canadian, so I must be mixed. I'm very much black on both sides. um
See?
but it's a lot of them are just raised black. Like I, some that were raised with like the white parents, and like it's evident now to me that like I've stepped more into my blackness, that like, oh, this is like, things you're saying are not okay. Like
Right?
you should like, and I was like, it's not my job. I mean, we're both like black women technically, yes, but like you need to go like seek some help for yourself and maybe talk to like somebody, because this is
Mhm.
not okay and it's problematic. And even some
Mm,
black
okay.
friends, they're just like, oh, proximity to whiteness is better, and it's like,
Oh,
and I'm just like, yeah, no, or like the kids will have be better off, and I'm like, no, there's still going to be black children, and there's no
Wow.
like,
yeah.
it's very
Thank
strange.
you.
But like a lot, like most of them identify as black that I know of, like the women and men, because they're treated black here. It's just like one drop rule is black. If
Mhm.
you have a black parent, whether you're raised them or not, the society's like, oh, you are a black child. So it's, they're
Mhm.
very much raised black, and they don't typically struggle with that. Usually you'll see it in the home if the parents are still together. And that
Mhm.
seems very, to me it's very strange, because you would think it would be if the parents aren't together that it's like that, but usually it's when the parents are still together, like there's a lot of confusion and like
Mhm.
questions around the identity.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. That
So
And
was
very
the,
and
to
common.
speak of.
uh,
Speaking of confusion, that was one of the words. One of the last words we'll talk about.
mhm.
Dating as a black woman is confusing. Do you agree?
It was, I would say, because I used to think I had to be what they wanted me to be. So it's like
Yeah.
I'm on like this date, so I'm gonna be what they want. And then like none of it's me in the end. Like initially back when I was like 23, 24, like it's not me. And so it's
Mhm.
like, what do they want from me? And you get to the point, you're just like, what do you want? Like I'm doing at least what I think you've told me you wanted, or executing correctly. Like I'm not asking for much. So
Yeah.
like that part is confused. Like, you don't ask for much, you're doing what you think they want, or you are doing what they want, and it's still not enough. So it's like,
Mhm.
and then just you go back to like, it must be me, because that's what we're told.
Yeah.
It must be you because they're not happy. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
can be confusing.
Yeah. I can admit, as a black woman, I did have an identity crisis thick into my dating world. And
Mm-hmm.
it was hard for me because here I am coming home from a predominantly white institution, coming home to Baltimore. That was one thing, getting used to the culture again and being a majority now as opposed to being the minority. So things that worked where I once was did not work at home. For example, I at Bucknell, well, my school's out there.
Right.
Love you, Bucknell. At my school, natural hair wasn't accepted. I can remember being in a group coming home from a civil rights trip, and I had taken my braids out, and I just washed my hair, deep conditioned it, and I just let it go. I let it air dry, and I had a curly fro. I have really, really, coarse textured hair, and it was like a 1970s fro, and I was proud of it. I loved it. But when I went to go grab dinner, they were like, "Ooh, girl, what is going on?" They said,
Really? In
"Oh,
Baltimore?
no." Oh, they
I mean, I
clowned
love the city.
me.
I love y'all city. Like, adore
Yeah,
it. My ex is
yeah,
there, but like, I love the city. That's it.
yeah. Yeah, but
I'm
I mean,
surprised to hear
ridiculed
that.
me. Yeah, ridiculed me down to the point I
Wow.
went back to my dorm and I straightened my hair.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I do believe that I developed a hair complex because to get that ridicule in a place where I'm a minority, I'm looking to the people that look like me for support. And when I'm not feeling attractive, especially when these men that did not have the same skin color as I did not find me attractive, I at least wanted to feel beautiful and sexy for those that did. And
Mm-hmm.
so for those individuals to be like, no, that's hideous, that's ugly, I don't like that. It gave me a complex. So for the rest of my time there, I either had braids or my hair was straightened. But then I come home, so here I am, I'm straightening my hair, I'm wearing braids, and I'm wearing weaves. And then I had men saying, okay, so I'm looking for a real woman, a woman that doesn't wear, weave, that doesn't wear braids, that embraces her natural hair. And so I'm stuck in this limbo of I don't know who I need to be to attract who I want. So I'm just
Mhm.
trying to navigate, like maybe I'll wear braids and then I'll go straight. It was such a confusing thing for me where if it's not about my physical, now I'm being questioned about my emotional. So, in college, it's like, be outspoken, tell them how you feel, be strong, be empowered. We love that about you. So now we think that Black women are opinionated, they're strong, they're courageous. I come home and express how I feel. Now I'm the angry Black woman. I'm intimidating. I am not submissive. So again, I don't know how to act. I've had Black men tell me, "You need to. If you act right, I'll be with you. If you act right, then maybe we can go on a date." I don't know what acting right is. Help me.
It's
Like it
my
was
whole
a
life.
very frustrating process. And it just led me to be so confused to the point I just got bitter. And like a lot of women, sadly enough, that I've spoken to recently, they've just given up on dating and they would rather be single. So
Welcome.
in that space, when I decided I'm going to be single, I then found myself when I said, this is who I want to be, and whoever I end up being is who my husband will have to find because
Yeah.
I am not going to sit here and keep listening to the 20,000 voices telling me what to do, who to be, how to
Yeah.
dress, how to look, how to wear my hair. I said, you're going to have to take all this 30-inch weave and you're going to have to love my eyelashes.
Yeah.
I
And I'm
love
still
it.
real.
Okay.
Yes, that
No,
part. Yes.
like, and I'm glad you brought that up. In terms of like this misperception or like this how society has really changed over the last decade or so in terms
Mhm.
of how we view Black women who dare to be audacious and bold, right? And you're right, because when I graduated, like I remember like having that hair conversation in my head of, okay, what kind of hairstyle do I go to the interview with? you know? Like, and I remember maybe within the last couple years, I was somewhere and I was taking a picture with my sister girls. And I remember noticing like it was like something that stuck with me. I looked around and all of us had our natural hair in like some form or another. And like somehow I remember like I felt so happy about that. I was like, oh my God, look at us. Like we all have very different type of hair, but we're all embracing it in its different forms. And I just remember like that was a huge thing for me to get to the point where I'm like all these beautiful professional women just rocking their crowns. And I remember for me, it took me a long time to be able to go into work in like whether it was my natural hair, like just in fully natural state, or in like bantu knots or something. Because like one day I was like, F it, I'm done. I was like, this is my hair. You know, like, what are you gonna tell me to remove it? Like, no. But the also on the flip side is every time you change your hair, because I like changing my hair, it's like, oh my God, Wendy, is that you? What?
Right.
Who is that? Who
Did you
is
cut
that?
your hair?
Right. Right?
That's
Like,
they
yeah.
consider that a microaggression at my job place now. So I'll be waiting for them to ask, "Is that my hair?" They do
Really?
training. So yeah, I'll like when Winnie's done, I'll tell you because my hair story was similar to yours, but it came from it was also a whole mess. I'll wait till Winnie's done, but
But yeah, and so okay, so but bringing it back to dating though, surprisingly, like when I returned to my natural transition goddess lock situation, I was very pleasantly surprised that when I did so, whether it was like the protective twist or like just my natural hair out and my puffies, it was like men, black men, like men across the spectrum were all like, "Oh my God, like I see you, you're rocking your crown." You like was like, "Yes, yes I am. Thank
And
you."
different hairstyles
oh
get different men. Have you noticed that?
Yeah,
yes,
Black women,
yes,
different
yes,
hairstyles will get
yes,
you a
yes.
different set of men. I think that is insane. It's
yes.
wild.
Okay,
Same face, same body.
Well,
Literally,
I feel
I'm
like
the same
sometimes like
person.
we don't give them enough credit. I've said it's on record now, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes, but like we're
but
nuanced. Like women are nuanced too, especially black women. And like what you said, the last 10 years, we've seen that, and now we're allowed to be.
yeah,
Hmm.
especially like because y'all know that meme of like when the guy's like, or is it the girl who's saying, oh, he said he wants to see other people, and you have like 5, 6 different hairstyles. I'm like, which one do you want, boo boo? Which one do you want? Because I got all of them,
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
I
Hmm.
love the versatility. I love it.
It's true.
I was like, it is what it is. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's very like I don't know, it's very difficult. I transitioned to natural hair. Um, I don't know, back in like 2013, 2004, 2013, and I was in a relationship. He's from
Mhm.
Baltimore, and he had so much to say about my hair. He would text me. It was no, it was not good. It wasn't good at all.
No, Baltimore. We love
Yeah,
Baltimore.
I know. I mean, he was anyways. It's fine. But these are we're not together today, but he and black man. And like I was transitioning. So like it's I was like, I don't want to do a big chop. Like I was like, I don't want to do a big chop. I'm just gonna transition. And I was like, great. And he would like text me the other day and be like, so and so seen you at this part on campus and said like your hair looks like this, like you should try to do it different every day. Like if you're like he didn't like my natural. He's like, you need to do it. Like you can't just let it be out the way it's out, or like you need to keep it in twists, or like he's like, keep it in braids until like it gets like grown out and long enough to where it's nice. And I'm like, excuse black ass me, what?
Love to have
And like in
autonomy over our bodies.
like
Let's
yeah,
do
and
it.
it took me probably like 6 weeks to 2 months to get to like no, I'm not listening to this. Like and because like you said, like you're like the person that you would think you want, or the person that you want, and the person that you would think, or they told you they're attracted to you. Now you feel unattractive, and it's like
Yes.
and it's like
Ooh,
and they're like, this is all of me, this is the real me, like that
Love
all of
it.
it. And like I made the choice, and like my mom was like, even my mom was like, you can't, like you gotta do something with your hair. Like she was very
oh, I
much like
remember that.
she's very much like a relaxer, like
Yeah.
wig person. I was like, I'm not relaxed anymore. So like, but I don't care how you feel, but like I'm just gonna be over here nappy headed, I guess, like whatever.
Right.
And but it was like very uncomfortable between the two of them. Like it was very uncomfortable for a while, and I was just like, there something wrong? Like what's wrong with my hair? And granted, like I didn't really know how to do my hair. I was one of those women. I would like even when it was like being permed, I'm
Yeah.
still not that great with a flat iron. I found someone can do it. I'm gonna pay them to do it. Period.
Right.
Like whether it's braids or whatever. I did these thankfully somehow, but like it's just and so I was just like I'm giving you me, and now I was like now I'm not enough for the person
Oh.
that's in like my partner. Now I'm not enough because this is all of me. And like
Mm.
to my mother, I was like now I'm not good enough to represent you in my most purest state of just all me. And it's like what, because then you get like the messages like you don't wear too much makeup either. I don't like a lot of makeup, or like do your
Ooh,
hair like this, but like and I'm like the natural look is the most makeup, so you don't know what you're talking about. and I can't do that. And like I don't wear makeup; it's too hard. I can't. Like my eyebrows are good, and that's it. I've mastered eyebrows and mascara.
Beautiful eyebrows.
That's it. But it's just like the confusion is real because it's like, what do you want? Because I'm giving you myself, and now you don't like that. But then like if I change it, now it's an issue again. Or like the
Mhm.
workplace, you change your hair and you go to work and you're like, someone is gonna say something. Thankfully,
Yes.
like I said, it's now
Yes.
like that's considered a microaggression now. You can't ask that at my workplace currently,
Wow.
but they're very progressive because my last workplace, I was gonna go to HR. Because somebody kept complaining that like my hair products were too strong. I need to find something unscented. I was like, black hair care does not come in unscented. So
What?
Exactly.
no. Yeah, it was multiple like complaints. And I was like, I told my manager, if someone else says something to me, I'm going to HR. And that's going to be it. I said, so you can nip it in the bud? I said, or I can. And I was like, so you figure it out. But no
Yeah.
one's going to talk to me. I said, and don't tell me anymore. I said, if it
Yeah.
means I'm fired, I'll be back with the lawyer. But
Yeah.
Mm.
because it's
Yeah.
like you like leave us as black women alone. I'm not bothering nobody. I do a great job.
Yeah.
Like I'm not being inappropriate. And like to like my ex at the time, I was like, and that relationship ended like not long after that, just a whole other messed up. And I was like, yeah, this was God being like, hey sis, it's not for you. Let it
Right.
go. And me, I was like, you're taught like stick it out. And I was very much I would throw people away very early on. I was very much, I've been through therapy, I've worked it out, I have feelings now and vulnerability, but I was very much like, you did me wrong once, emotionally, I'm done and shut down, shut out, like you're blocked on my life. And so
Mm.
this was the opportunity. I was like, I'll stick it out this time. I've always thrown people away at the
Right.
first sight of wrong. So I'll be an adult. I'll try to work it out and stick in it. And that wasn't the time for me to do. I know that now that wasn't the right time for me to exercise that judgment. And I've gotten better and more discerning with it now. But
Mhm.
I went with that. I was like, people say stick it out, be a good woman, be a good black woman. You're supposed to stick it out. You're strong. You can tough it out. And like I was like, oh, never again. Like I can't. I won't go back to that. I can't. I will not. Like I don't
Right.
deserve that. And like that's just no.
I mean, not even just our hair. Like the as black women, the standard of beauty when it comes to how we look, how we're shaped. It's just so unfair. It's so
Yes.
confusing. So it's like we have this unrealistic body type.
Mhm. Yeah.
Men, how big is your butt? How big is your boobs? I've gotten that question so many times on
Do you
these
have a
online dating
belly?
sites when
Like
it
you,
when I have my face picture and a body picture, like what size underwear, what size
right?
bra.
You can't
That's
have a
very
belly, no kind
inappropriate.
of pooch, nothing. I was like, stop.
But
This
like,
wow.
not every black woman's going to have a voluptuous body. And
And if
I've
he
heard
does,
men ridicule. I've heard men ridicule women, both celebrities and then non, that do not have that voluptuous shape. They're like, oh, she's shaped like a boy, or maybe she's just slender.
And then
and
what
and,
do those men look like?
and let me
Right,
tell you, if she's curvy, there most likely will be some kind of cellulite, however you say
Yes.
it. If it's natural, okay, or not. Their natural bodies, cellulite is very natural, even on skinny,
Yes.
people.
It
Like
has
it
nothing
just
to do
it
with
just
weight.
exists, right? A little extra cushion will find itself wherever it needs to go. So quite honestly, whether it's skinny or curvy, like people, you're right. And then they're like, oh, she tricked me. She had them body shapers or like the little rapidy wrap things that people do these days. I'm like, me, at this point, I'm like, babe, this is me. I'm gonna be free. I'll be comfortable. I will breathe. I will eat. Okay.
but I
So
think
You're
that
so tricked. Oh
we
wow.
have to look at the reasoning why we do some of the things that we do. Like before we go on our first dates, how many of us have gone to get our hair done, gone to get our nails done, made sure to wear makeup, make sure to get a new outfit, make sure to do
yeah.
this, make sure to do that? And the upkeep just to remain quote unquote desirable to some men, because I mean there are men that say, oh, I like you in your natural state. Okay, that's fair and nice.
Mm.
But let's
Wait
be
till your
let's
eyebrows
be
come off.
let's be honest. There's some point you want us to dress up, get our hair done, do all this, do all that. I've gotten more ridicule
Mm.
in being natural without sometimes a face of makeup if I went on a date. Like, oh, you didn't put much effort into this, now
Mhm.
did you?
Mm.
I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Oh,
Like, oh my gosh, that whole conversation is a mess to me. I just because like that's the part of Twitter I don't engage in. That's why I'm not in like certain known accounts on Instagram that got them crazy titles. I don't follow them because I can't, because people just are crazy. Like I can't engage in that. I know what I have to give. I'll tell people my belly has not stopped no man. It hasn't stopped your man, their man, my ex. No, it has not stopped nobody, and it won't.
Mhm.
Period. Like the right ones are gonna find me belly and all, and I don't
right?
care. And like it's never gonna be
Thank
flat
you.
because I'm not eating kale for 3 months. I'm not doing it.
Okay.
I refuse. And if I get surgery, I'm gonna do that proudly. Like
Yeah.
wherever it's gonna be, but like you're just going to get me. And that's why like my parents, I couldn't wear makeup as a child. I would get grounded. So my mom
Mhm.
and dad were like no makeup. So I that's why I don't know how to do it now, and I'm grateful for it because I was like, what you see online, like you're gonna see me in person, and the like this is just what you're gonna get. So like, there's no surprises with me here. Like there's hair underneath here. Like my eyebrows pretty much look the same. They're a little less defined, but they're the same. I'm just like, I'd rather for me, I'm like, I'd rather you see me online and be like, oh, that's who she is when you see me in person, and then like, see me 3 years into a relationship. First thing in the morning, you're like,
Mhm.
who are you? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like what, like whose face is this? I'm like, no, this is gonna be me, and you're going to have to like, and if you don't, then you're just not for me, and I'm
Yeah.
not gonna make you like me anymore. I can't beg you to be in my life. So I'll
Mhm.
find someone who likes all of this and
Yeah.
is ready.
Yeah. And there's been such a surge in plastic surgery,
Yeah.
especially the BBL. There's been such a surge, and they I see a lot of men really ridiculing that online, and I'm like, do you think about the reasoning of why so many women are going to get that? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
well, they're insecure with their bodies. Okay, go deeper. Why do you think they're insecure
Mhm.
about their bodies?
Because yeah, there's two very loud groups. There's more than like two groups of men, but there's two very loud ones. There's the ones that like love the BBL body,
Yeah.
and like they're very much like, I love it, I'll pay for it, I'll do whatever. Then you have the ones that are like, Grand Rising, hate the BBLs, don't do it. That's not shade. I'm just saying that's been my experience of like those are the things they've said to me personally. Not all of them, not everybody in that community is like that, but for me, and like it's and there's a very small niche group of the men who are like, I love that body, like that's what I want. And then some men are in the middle, but it's like I think a lot of times we see only what's like we only see like the opposite ends of it. We only see the people who are loud and wrong, unfortunately. But it's like we didn't create that standard. It like and it's such a it's so confusing like to me because growing up my dad was just like he's passed on. He's always just like, you're beautiful, you're a black woman, like you don't need anything else. And he also like he would say, don't ever want to be someone else because he's like they all want to be black. At the end of the day, he goes, that's why they go on their trips to get tanned. And this is like they were doing lip filler back in like the early 2000s. He's like, that's why they
Right?
get their lips plumped. He's like, they want to be just like us and they can't, and they do everything to look like us. And that's why I was like, y'all get that surgery like you did. And it's in that the crazy part is that like but we look like that and it's not enough or it's trashy or
Mm.
it's ghetto. So it's like
Ooh,
Right?
you've taken the whole
ooh,
aesthetic, thrown it on like some other type of woman, and now she's better for it. And it's
ooh.
like she looks just like me, maybe lighter, maybe longer hair, straighter hair, but like you like just because everybody wants to be a nigga till it's time to be a nigga, and that's what it looks like to me. They all want to be, except for when it really comes down to it.
Oof.
Because like you took the swag, you took every like cultural approach, like that's what it's damn near blackface to me. Pretty like because like, you took everything and now you're praised for it and we're trashy for it, and we've been doing it, looking like it, celebrating it, and now it's
Mhm.
too much, it's bad. No, it's not good
Right.
enough.
Being a black woman, being a
Yes.
black woman.
Oh, oh yeah, yeah, fam. That to me that
That
touched
was
me.
deep. That was
Yeah,
deep.
Like
because when it comes to the costuming of blackness, especially of black femininity,
mm-hmm.
there is so much to that, right? Whether it's
I've heard
being
it called black cosplay. That's what they call
yeah,
it on Twitter. And
it is, right? Whether it's folks who use it for comedy, as a joke, right? As like a exaggerated joke, or the folks who use it to attract a particular kind of man, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, or the folks who just use it just because they think it's fun and cool until they gotta take it off to go get a real job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forgetting that like we don't get that option, right?
Yes.
And again, because I'm trying to stay in context here, especially when it comes to dating, it is so important for me. I know, especially like because of the features that I know I have, I'm always very mindful, especially then on the flip side, like if I'm not going on a date, let's say with a brother with a brother friend, I'm also very conscious of, is this person fetishizing me, or is it something that they genuinely like, are like, that they like my character beyond just, oh, these features that happen to come with being,
Mm.
You
you
know,
know.
I always wonder that, and it's like because I have a privilege as someone who is lighter, and I realize that now is the come to Jesus moment many years ago, and I was like, you need to let that go, Megan. Like it's real and too bad. You're still black, but like
Mhm.
it's just what it is. And like that was all like I would purposely not date men who say like I like light skinned girls, and it was very much like in terms like I would do everything to it appear as black as I could because a lot of people still assume that like, I'm not black. I must be mixed with white because you're too light. You can't be
Mm.
black. Especially like Americans, no shit. Like I love and there's because they don't know that we exist in Canada. They really don't. Like I'm like Canadian. I'm not an immigrant child. Like 6, 7, 8 generations. Like we're
Mm.
Canadian. Canadian is not
Mhm.
white. It's me. It's white too. It's native. But
Yeah.
this is me. So but people like men's like I won't date them if they say they only date light skinned women because I'm like you don't
Right.
actually like me and like no I don't want that type of like environment for my potential children but
Think
also like
right.
it's
Yes.
also like I think I struggle I call it reverse colorism because
Mm.
Yes.
I tend to only date darker men and like my dad is not a dark man either he's like brown skin
Mm.
but
Mm.
like and it's problematic and I don't know who I could talk to in the black community because I feel like most of them will judge me and be like girl that is like it is reverse colorism like I don't date light skinned men
Self
like I've done
awareness.
it before but
Mm-hmm.
it's like part of it is like as a child I was teased like I want my kids to look black I want them to be like
Mm.
to aesthetically be black I want the like my nose is not small like but I want them to have a nose like mine big I want them to have like just like I just want them to look like just what I it sounds it's trying to make it sound so it's not I'm trying to make it sound like politically correct and I don't know that there
It's a
is
safe space. It's a safe space
without like
here.
yeah like I just
Say it how you
I just want good chocolate babies and I know that that's
want.
wrong because some people will date some white women will date black men to get mixed kids and like
Yeah.
and I'm on the opposite end of that and I realize like that's still not okay and like I
Well,
have to work through that but like I'm also like attracted to what I'm attracted to at the same time
Sure.
and I don't know where that's rooted in because again my dad's not dark skinned so they're like people will assume oh you must be because you're down like no he's not I was like so it's still problematic to me, I
but
think it is, but I'm just like, I just love a good chocolate black man. Like it's that's just my kryptonite. And don't let them be tall because they all have nice teeth. They all have nice teeth. It's not fair. Everybody I know, women and men alike, chocolatey people got the nicest teeth. Whether they're either white and straight or white, but like they're always nice. It's I don't.
oh,
It's not fair. It's not. It's not. It's just, and the skin is
Mama
always
Africa
buttery.
did. Mama Africa does it right. I'll
No,
tell
yes,
you that.
no blemishes, no dark circles, no bag.
Beautiful
The
skin.
skin is always buttery. Like, and I'm just
Yes.
like, why couldn't I have been that? Like
I
I would
love
have
it.
liked that. But
I
it's just
love it.
that's just what I love because I want to have I'm going to be a black family. I'm going to be someone's black wife with my black husband, with my black kids with their black hair. And that's what I want. That's how I grew up. My dad was very much like, you know, very militant in that sense. Like we have black Jesus on the wall. People don't even know where we got
Oh
those
my
pictures. Late 90s, like the Last Supper
god.
black, like everything was black. Somehow they found it here in Nova Scotia, Canada. And my dad was like, you go to white people's houses, you don't see black Jesus or black anybody on the walls. So we're not having white people on our walls. There'll be pictures of us and black images of whatever it is, like black Santa Clauses, but everything, black Barbies. And he found them somehow when I was like a kid.
I love
And
it.
that was always very important that we knew we were black. And my mom was like, they're too young for all that. Like, calm down. Like they're 7 and 8 at the time. Like they don't know what
I
that
love
means. I
that.
mean, and he's passed on, but now I'm like, he's instilled so many lessons, especially about blackness in us, that like now I can like call on. I'm like, it was important. I'm glad he did it, but it's important to have a strong sense of identity in that because I could have very easily gotten washed up in the thing.
Sure.
Everything here is the PWI. There are no black institutions here at
Sure.
all. Like at least like there's none. Right, there's
Yeah.
none. So he was like, you need to be happy in that because he knew what was going to come for me in junior high. You question yourself anyways. He's like, You're not going to be like those other girls because that's not you. You don't look like them. You're not going to act like them. And you need to be secure and confident in who you are and not
Yeah.
doing things because other people do it. You're yourself, make your own decisions and be like a black girl and be proud of that. So like I had Bantu knots as a kid and I hated them because I was like, white people aren't going to get it. And like, what, like I'm embarrassed because I don't know any better racially as a child. I just think it's weird because my hair's not straight and hanging. But like
Mhm.
now as an adult, I'm just like, y'all are so mad your hair can't do this. And when you try to, it's bad. And you're sick about it. But that it just is what it is. But it's like, yeah, let's just like it's to me that's important to have that and to have like an image of like what we would have looked like in the motherland before we were enslaved people.
Mm.
Because that like I'm trying to create a legacy and have like a strong family foundation. I have a
Absolutely.
good one with a black family and I want to recreate that. And so that's
Absolutely.
important to me with like dating as someone who is a reversed colorist. I
Oh
guess
no,
I
I
get
get
it.
like I don't know how else
Yeah.
to phrase
I
that.
I don't want, and I also yeah. So if anything, to me, right, I don't think you should claim that reverse colorism
Okay,
because
thank you.
I really, and please don't, because if anything, this is it's a very real aspect of dating as a black woman, right?
Mhm,
Because that's the reality of like the differences that sometimes people go into relationshiping, right? Especially
mhm,
when you're dating with the intent to potentially procreate
mhm,
with this person. And I know for myself as well, that is one of the key factors, which then plays into the kind of questions that I ask, the things that I watch out for in that
mhm,
person, right?
Sure.
Recognizing that I could potentially procreate with this person. And
mhm,
I don't want our children to be any level of confusion. That's really what it comes down to.
mhm,
You are doing your best to ensure that your child comes out
mhm,
having no questions
mhm,
about who am I? How
mhm,
do I relate in this built environment? How does society see me? And how do I stand in the fullness of who I
mhm.
Mm. I could talk to
Yeah.
y'all all day. I wish I could, but we have run over our time.
am?
So
Sorry.
no. This I'll explain why we went over our time once we do our final words. So really quickly,
Mhm,
from the both of you, as
mhm.
Black women, what would you like for men to do better? What do you need from men or women, depending on your sexual orientation? What do you think Black women need from men?
Men who honor themselves will honor you. So I would say
Mm,
for men to honor and respect themselves.
mm,
Concise. What? That's
mm.
deep. Like
Yeah.
y'all got that? Say it again, Megan. Let
Yes.
them know.
I need black men, y'all, especially y'all, I need you to honor yourself and respect yourself because if you will do it to you, you will do it to me as well. So respect
Mm.
yourself, honor yourself, and you'll give that to me. Black women, all women.
Love it, Winnie.
Hmm. What do we need? We need you. We need all of you. And I mean that in any and every sense of the word. We really do need one another. And I hope and pray that you guys will recognize that we see that. In as much as that rhetoric of like strong black, I'm tired of I gave up. I gave it up. No, no, no. I am soft. I am sensitive.
Yeah.
I am
Yes.
feminine. I am
Yes.
humble.
Yes.
I enjoy resting in my femininity, in my divine feminine. It is
Mhm.
where I choose to be and enjoy to be. And so we need you to show up and fully show up. So
Mhm.
yeah, so at the end of the day, we simply need you in all of you, in all of your splendor. Walk in the fullness of that. That's it.
Mhm.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
love
give a
that.
round of applause to our guest hosts, our guest professors, Megan and Winnie. Oh, thank you both so much. If you have any pages or podcasts that you want us to follow, the floor is yours right now before I close.
Okay. All right. I guess I'll start. So social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the stuff, it's at Miss Winnie O. I also run the HARP, which is a harassment and assault reporting platform. All things discussing about that topic, yes.
So
And
we'll see you in a different show. Okay.
I know. And on my IG, I do Buta School Saturdays, which is pretty much a global, local kind of just weekly updates. We talk about anything and everything. So you're welcome. Holla at your girl.
I like that. You can find me literally everywhere at that name down there. Megan Better. Megan spelled like the Duchess, if that helps y'all. Apparently it does. Better spelled traditionally. You can find my show, The Better Life Pod, on the Sarkarians Media Group Network. It's spelled The Better Life, all traditional spelling, and then pod on Instagram. It drops every week, Wednesday, 6 a.m. Eastern time. I talk about
Ooh,
literally anything like my life, dating, past relationships,
yes.
like struggles, you just and like pretty much everything you could think of and that I've gone through. It's very vulnerable. I'm surprised in myself most weeks, but you can find me there. You can check me out
Can't
on
wait.
YouTube as well under Sarkarigans, and Sarkarigans is SARCARROGANCE.
I love it. I love it. Again, I'm so thankful for you both for coming on the show, being honest, vulnerable, transparent. I love it all. If you are rocking with us still, these are my closing thoughts. So, you know that Dating University, we are a very time conscious podcast. We like to keep our shows 1 hour and under. If you notice, every week that we've discussed dating while black, it has gone over. That's not to say that, that's bad. We're here to show you that this is a topic that is not talked about enough. And we did not feel comfortable cutting people off after an hour because this topic is so bigger than us. There needs to be healing because there is such a disconnect. And I'm very thankful for these past few weeks because we have opened the door for dialogue, whether it's explosive dialogue, which we've had on some weeks, whether it is enlightenment, either way you're talking. And that's what we need. I've had so many conversations stem from the past couple of weeks that I wasn't having prior. And I think that's what my goal and my vision was. I don't want it to stop here though. So if you could share the show, or if you're a man watching this show and you feel enlightened and you have questions, talk to a black woman. Talk to any black woman. I've had men honestly hit me in my inbox with questions, and they're like, I'm sorry to bother. You're not bothering me. How else can you learn if you're not asking those questions? So the fact
Mhm.
that you even feel compelled and comfortable enough to ask those questions, I'm doing my job. You ladies are doing your jobs because clearly the people love the dialogue, they love the conversation, and I hope to have y'all back on the show, please. Shameless plug. Have y'all back on. So definitely, you guys, thank you for watching. Share, share, share. Sharing is caring. Buy our merch. It's in the link on our Instagram. Charles is good with that. He's the Teespring guy. So definitely click on our link in our bio on Instagram. We have it on Facebook too. To all of our podcast listeners, thank you for being patient and listening to more content that's over an hour for the past couple of weeks. So now you see why we did what we did. When we come back next week, we're back to an hour. So class will not go over. But I do not apologize for these classes going over the past few weeks. It was necessary. We could go on and do this for years.
Mhm.
But we're not. We're gonna take our talents to Zoom and we're gonna try to host a co-ed mixer mingle where we can ask questions, talk, discuss, and just have a safe space without it being recorded.
Mhm.
Because some people
Yes.
have questions that aren't for everybody, and that's okay. As long as we can have discussion, we're happy. So that's my spiel. This is Professor Brittany, and we are out. Good night, everybody. Thank you to these beautiful ladies again. They're gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good night.
Good night. Bye.
See ya.